Welcome to the George Lynch Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Legendary Gear, the game call company that is legend by design. Well, my guest this week, folks, is a real good friend of mine, but if I had to put it together, because he's a guy that I could talk to. There's very few people in the industry when we all know each other, become family, and you're traveling. But he's one of those guys you can tell you family problems to. You can talk about hunting problems. You can talk about he's kind of the guy that listens and has answers. And then he's the kind of guy who is the duck hunter killer. You know, he's also, a lot of people don't know, he has the green thumb that can grow all the gardening he can. So I always tell everybody, if Dr. Phil and the Duck Commander and the Jolly Green Giant's sister had a kid, it would be my next guest, Steve Kitchen. Steve, welcome aboard, buddy. Glad to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. Look forward to this. This will be fun.
Well, it's been tough because, you know, this time of year, we both know what it's like when you're starting with the shows and you got dealers and you know, you've just been running the road here with the shows and everything. But for our people that don't know Steve Kitchen, can you kind of give a background of what you do?
I am the regional sales rep for Sitka Gear. I cover Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, and Arkansas. We also sell Riggerite. But we do Kershaw knives. We sell several lines here in the Midwest. Turtle Box Audio. Like I said, I've been running around pretty crazy for the last 3 weeks. Got one more weekend this weekend up at Presley's Outdoors. We've been at Rogers Sporting Goods. We were at the Delta Waterfowl Expo. It's been a great kickoff to the fall. A lot of enthusiasm. People are out there buying products. It's looking to shape up pretty good for this fall.
I think people have been, the COVID has kind of put people in a hermit shell for a couple of years, you know, and they're really excited. Last year was good, but people are really wanting to get back to that normal life and that we had before. You mentioned Presley, so I'm sure I'll be up there next weekend with you. And
good. Yeah, it's been pretty bad with COVID, you know, not being able to go to Saskatchewan for a couple of years. I got to go last fall. Looking forward to this fall. Duck numbers are up all across the board is what I've heard. Don't know about the snow geese, but that's my favorite target up there in Saskatchewan. But I think that everything's shaping up well. We're actually starting to get quite a bit of moisture here in the Midwest over the last few weeks where we were really dry before. There's still some dry pockets, but shaping up pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to head to Saskatchewan the first week of September myself with a friend up there. And I mean, they got everything. I just have to fly in, show up, and hopefully we already got a cameraman. So I'm excited because we're looking to get a lot of footage, and we're going to get some photos and use some of our new products that we're using this year. And I'm excited as well. You know, back, I'm going to say, gosh, I don't know how many years ago it was. I think I've judged the World Goose 6 times. And I judged the World Duck 1 time. And then I judged the World Duck and World Goose in the same year in a couple of weeks apart. And I think I'm the only guy that's judged both, but I'm not sure. But one thing I remember is one of the times I was judging the World Goose, Corey Perso, who was Sitka Gear, had got a hold of me and said, "Hey, you're going to be at the World Goose. We'd like to, meet up with you and stuff like that." And they had a booth, and I had no idea. And I remember going, I was a judge out there, and I met Corey and even worked in the Sitka booth a little bit with him. And I remember he gave me his credit card that night, said, "Hey, I got a meeting with Gore the next day. Here, go enjoy yourself tonight." And the next day is when he came to me and said, "Hey, the reason we're here and the reason, I want to talk to you, we want you to be, we're an athlete with us." And they were very particular. And I think Jeff was the first guy. And then, they asked, so he talked to me, and it was an honor, but that was how critical and how important the people that represent them of what they, and so that was my first time, came on board, started using the Sitka Gear. And a lot of the questions people have asked me through the years, what have you seen as the most improvement in waterfowl hunting? Has it been decoys, calls? And even though I'm a call maker, yeah, man, the calls have gotten better, but we killed calls in the past before. We found a way, and the geese reacted. But to me, the biggest improvement, and I tell guys, especially at the older age, is Sitka. And they look at me and I said, because it really is. I mean, it was a gear. I mean, it was allowing me, because we lived in Michigan, and I was one of the first guys that hunted our early goose season and hunted our late season. People thought we were nuts. You know, waterfowl hunting was hunting waterfowl on water. And when Michigan came up with their first late season, we had white Tyvek suits. We were laying on white styrofoam. I was laying out in the snow trying to kill these honkers, and people thought we were nuts. Now look at it today. But what I'm saying is that going through the years, because I was young and tough, and I did a lot of guiding. Hey, buddy, there we go. There's the boss. I love
That
it.
is the boss for sure.
Hey, that's the most loving you probably had in the 6 months.
Yeah, I got it earlier this morning when we were out doing training, but you know, it's kind of funny you say that. You know, when we first started with Sitka Gear, it was, you know, I've worked in the industry before in the sporting goods, you know, as a buyer for the Dunn's family, and I've seen everything. You know, I got to try everything. People brought it into me. I wore it. I did it. There was a lot of neat stuff back in the day, but then once we started working with Sitka, it was like, holy cow. But the biggest telling story to me was the second year, I think, that we were working for Sitka. I got my dad fully suited up, and he was down in Arkansas with a bunch of my buddies, and it was like 25 degrees in Arkansas, which, you know, the people down there freeze when it's 25, and they're breaking ice and doing this, that, and the other. And he sent me a text. He goes, son, 60 years of waterfowling, I've never seen anything like this. He goes, this is the best gear in the world. When are they going to make bleeping socks? And that was, you know, and yeah, that was a testament. You know, I mean, he's been through it all. He's been through the back in the days with the, you know, with the old redhead gear before it was Bass Pro, the, you know, the canvas, the canvas waders, the steel shank boots, all the stuff where it kept you a little dry, but it didn't keep you warm at all. But, you know, it was a testament to hear my dad say that, which, you know, that when that first happened, it was like, yeah, I'm representing a brand that definitely does what it says it's going to do. So
absolutely. I mean, like your dad's right. Back in the old days, I mean, I had a combination of Columbia and Carhartt. I mean, Carhartt's, you know, but when I'm, you know, what I'm telling guys, I said, hey man, in that late season, when we can hunt, you know, it gets bitter, and you're laying on that ground, it gets cold, and the neat thing, and I'm going as a guide or whatever, I'm setting up this whole spread. You're there early in the morning, it's bitter cold, you know, you're wearing, the guys will get all this bundled up, and then you set decoys, and by the time you're ready, you're sweating. Next thing you, in the next hour, you're freezing, you know, because you had windbreaker, you had everything. So with Sitka, I really got educated in the layering system. You know, never thought about that before, but having a system and a middle system and a middle layer, and, you know, then you have, so we did videos and did stuff where we talk about, you know, out in the morning, this is what I wear, and this is, you know, even come to the boots, you know, what I'm doing when setting up my decoy spread. And then as we go back to the truck, and before we get in the blind, the next layer and the final layer, it comes on. And that was the thing, I was able to withstand and stay out in the elements a lot longer. And in the old days, and you probably never hunted geese much in the layout blinds, but when you were guiding guys and laying out in the blinds, guys would get cold, man. And then they were constantly out of the blinds, having to walk and get warm. And I don't know how many opportunities we lost because here come the geese, and guys are staying outside the blinds.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, back in the day, I mean, it was a great product, but you had a Columbia widgeon parka that was, you know, it felt like the Michelin Man walking around. You couldn't set decoys wearing it, or you'd sweat to death, and then you didn't have any other options. And, you know, with the layering system, it has changed the game. The core lightweight, core midweight, core heavyweight, then your insulation layer, then your outer layer that's waterproof if needed, or if it's a wind stopper piece that's used, you know, you have so many options. You know, when you get a guy come up to you, hey, what would be best for me? Well, you got to give me some more information. I need to know, are you cold natured? Are you hot natured? Are you hunting, you know, mainly wet? Are you hunting mainly dry? I mean, so many different options, and we can fulfill them all, which is so cool.
Right. Absolutely.
And then the waders came, and that's a game changer too. So
that was one of the reasons that, you know, I wanted to get with you and doing this podcast, because, you know, I got a set of waders here, and I've been using, and in the past, man, waders was like if there was a last piece of equipment I wanted to put on me and come to water, it was a set of waders. And, you know, it's one of the things, but if you're hunting in the water, whatever you got to have them. But to me, it was my worst piece of equipment. And it was something that you looked at like, wow, someone's got to come up with something better, you know?
Yep.
And someday Sitka's got to do this. And I got a set of the waders this year, and as soon as I put them on, dude, I was so impressed. First of all, the most comfortable boot you're ever going to walk on. I
Yeah.
mean, if people wouldn't look at me, I'd probably wear it to church. It's just they're that comfortable. But another thing is my movability, being able, the flexibility, or being able to move, because a lot of times you're so restricted in the other waders, you know, bending over and scrunching a goat head there as you're bending over and stuff. But these,
Oh, yeah.
so why don't you
I
educate us?
tell you, you know, what you're saying, you know, way back in the beginning when we were with Sitka and we first came up with the waterfowl gear, we started talking about waders immediately. And waders are a key component of waterfowl hunting, that's for sure. But Sitka would not put them out until they were right. We're very good with Gore-Tex, very good with the laminates. Had some great partners that made some Gore-Tex waders, got great ideas. We started working on them a couple of years ago, knowing that we needed to be able to increase production and supply the demand, the huge demand from all of our consumers and our dealers and everybody that trickles down from there. And we put a boot on this wader that it's the most comfortable boot that I've ever had on a wader. It feels like putting on a pair of work boots, or, you know, something more. It's not even anything like any other rubber boots.
No.
The main deal in the boot, I'm going to grab it. So this is the boot that we currently have. This is generation 2 on the boots.
Right.
Look at this. Look how this thing flexes. Really simple. Really simple. We have a comfortable boot. It's got great sole. But when you go to the new boot, you try to flex it, it's a lot stiffer footbed. It's super stiff. What that does is gives you more stability in the mud, and you find yourself not getting stuck as bad. I mean, it's still, I mean, if you're in nasty swamp gumbo, you're gonna still have problems, but this is going to alleviate a lot of it by having the firm footbed.
It's going to eliminate for your feet getting pinched in the boot.
Yes. The ankle fit is a little bit tighter than it was. There again, to help your feet stay in the boot, but not constrict and make it uncomfortable. But the biggest thing, I mean, it's just game changer, is the actual footbed insole inside of it. It actually has an arch. It actually feels like constructed, almost like wearing your high-end tennis shoes, or, like I said, work boots, something that has a lot more form to it. And last weekend up at Rogers, while we were, you know, showing people new boot, old boot, you know, they you know, had some of the old boots left, and we had the new ones in stock. Hey, try this one on, and then try that one on. Even though the old boot we were selling at a less expensive price, a lot of people chose the new boot just because, like I said, when you first slip it on, it's like, oh my gosh, this thing is unbelievable. So
I'm telling you, for me, that was when, as soon as I put them on, you looked at them as well. I like the material and everything, but as soon as I put the boot on and stood up, I looked at my wife and was, whoa. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
We could walk the country.
You know, the other things about the waders, of course, is being it's a Gore Pro laminate. Very easy, very soft, very pliable. Like I said, feels like you're wearing a pair of bibs and muck boots, but you're wearing a pair of waders. The other point is repairability. I mean, if you stick a thorn through this thing and you have some aqua seal or our patch kits, you can be back up and running in a matter of minutes. The other thing is, you know, you get tiny pinholes sometimes, you know, walking through stuff, it happens. If you turn these boots inside out and you take some isopropyl alcohol in a little squirt bottle and you spray it around on the inside of the boot, you will be able to see anywhere where water has come back the other way through this Gore laminate. It'll turn black, so you can find your own micro holes. You know, again, with a lifetime warranty against manufacturer's defects. If we have a seam leak, we have a zipper break, we have something like that, you get on our website, you fill out the warranty form, we send you a label, we pay for the shipping back to us and back to you. I've had, Ira McCauley, Ira, was putting a mojo stake in the ground, and you know, the T-post, the thing you step on, slipped off and ripped a big giant gash in it. And we sent him back in. They re-seam taped them, had them back to him, and he still has those waders. And so, I mean, it's not like the old days where, oh my gosh, I got a leak. Oh crap, my boot's worn out. I got to throw these away. If you cut the boot, you can send them in, and we have, it's a patented proprietary function that we can replace the boot. You can't replace the boots on any other waders. This boot will come off, you put a different boot on it. We've even had guys buy boots of the wrong size just because they wanted to get tight fitting to get through. And at the end of the season, send them in and say, hey, I don't care what it costs, put the right size boots on. And we were able to do it. So, yeah, it's something that, you know, I think that most people don't realize is, you know, how many pairs of waders a year go into the landfills and all the things that are about it. And these waders are 100% repairable, extended. You can have them forever if you keep them up to date with the with new boots or whatever you have to do over time. I still have a pair. Let me see. This is the original prototype pair from what, 8 or 9 years ago. And this one has those Kelvin, or has those LACROSSE Aerolite boots on them. But you can see, instead of me sending them in because I love these boots so much, I've aqua sealed the crap out of it and made them work. The other thing is I guide in a concrete pit, so I sit up on the edge. All the clients are down in the hole. On the side of that concrete pit. Oh, here they come. And I slide down. Over that many years, I wore spots at the rear end. But I sent them in, they repatched them, refixed them, and I still have them and I still wear them. I mean, they're in my arsenal because I love them so much. And I have accessibility to any of the new products, anything we have, but that's a testament. Those waders are still around from 8 years ago. And
a testament to the customer service.
Yep, yeah, for sure.
Oh, sitting in a concrete pit. Does it get cold?
Yeah. I mean, they're poured in place like my basement here where I'm sitting right now. I mean, you're down underground. It's not bad. Put a little heater in there. Not bad at all. They're big pits though. I mean, it's an actual foundation poured in the ground, but I like them because they don't ring like a metal pit.
Right.
You know, metal pits I've been in before, you and I both know, calling ducks, calling geese, especially when you hit a goose call in a metal pit, it rings and makes all kinds of noise and it just doesn't sound good. That concrete absorbs it pretty well. I like it better than metal. I mean, you know, even if there were ever an accident where a gun would fall over or something would discharge inside of a concrete pit, at least it's not going to go ricocheting like absorb it. There's a lot of pros to the concrete pit. Now, there's a bunch of companies out there that have some really, really, really cool metal pits now, but you know, we're old school. We still have concrete.
Yeah, I remember the old days. Some of the guys I hunted with down Southwest Iowa, they had those big cargo containers.
Oh yeah, I had one too. Yep.
Oh my gosh! And I tell you what, you're guiding, but you know, and hunting snow geese and stuff. But the worst thing is having 8-10 guys in there, and if you don't get out of that pit and those guns go off, oh my gosh, that's why, you know, the hearing is gone. But you know, you talk about you're down there in your area. I was supposed to hunt with you last year, but we got a good mutual friend, Chuck Stock.
Yes,
Chuck has been a friend of mine since I got him into bow hunting. I mean, he'll talk about if when I'm down here, he'll tell you some of the crazy days when I lived in an apartment with shooting different critters around the apartment. Kind of, here's this redneck, you know, pulling out and shooting stuff with a bow. And I got him into it. He was a football player at Adrian College, you know, and I knew all the football players. I used to lift with him and became friends. But Chuck is now he's moved down there, but he has felt, you know, he big game hunted all over. I mean, but
and he got his toes frostbit off last year trying to kill a wolf.
Yeah. So but waterfowl, dude, he is hooked on the waterfowl, and he's been, you know, I know it was last year before last, he was complaining that it was tough down there. You know how the ducks, they just seemed to have a time watch that, you know, they were flying after shooting hours and stuff. And
very, very nocturnal for a couple of years. Last year we had a better hatch and it was a lot better year. We had some weather too. I mean, when it's 50 degrees during duck season, really have to do anything during the day. They can do what they want to do at night. But our season was much better last year because we had weather and a little bit better hatch.
He's definitely hooked on it, and I don't know how many he's worked with him on the calls. I mean, he's just into everything,
Oh yeah, he's headed to Manitoba like he always does. I tried to tell him to move over to Saskatchewan, but he won't listen.
Now he's got a buddy up there that
I
they
know.
stay in the same group.
Actually, it sounds like he needs that buddy now because they're taking a lot of the freelancing away from Manitoba.
Wow, no kidding. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Anyway, can I ask this? And maybe you can't say, is Sitka, making their boots for their own waders? You think that there might be regular boots in the hunting boots in the future?
Never say never.
Okay.
Never say never.
Never say
Never
never.
say never. Never say never about smaller sizes and bigger sizes. So we're working on it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Lots. I mean, I'll know more at the end of August when I go up to Bozeman for our sales meeting. We'll have a little insight on what's new for fall 24. But it's always an exciting time of year to figure out what we're going to be able to sell for next fall, what's new, what's going on. So.
Well, they're always on it, dude. And it's just not just the waterfowl. I mean, I'm a deer hunter and turkey hunter big time. We did a podcast with them back when, I got one of their new turkey vest.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what, dude, nothing comes close to it. Nothing.
Well, and the thing about it is I've got turkey vests that might be more, that I might be able to carry more stuff in it, but I can carry more stuff in it and I will if I have to. And I don't need to.
That's what I'm saying. Basically we're not hunting that far from home or wherever the cabin you're staying. And, turkey hunting to me, is not an all day, especially when it starts getting warm, but we have our times, that I'll hunt in the morning. And if it's not good to a certain time, I know when we'll go back, and I know when to go back when the hens are going to start moving back to the nest. And in a lot of places you can only hunt to noon or 3 o'clock anyway. And so it's not really, but that vest right there is, I look at it this way. If I'm going to need a bunch more, if I'm going to have food, I want something out there, I'll bring my YETI cooler and leave it in my truck and have, my food in my cooler when I get back and take my break. So I'm right there at the woods.
Yep. I put a few protein bars and a bottle of water in the back and a bottle of water in instead of one of the call holders on the side, I put it in there. I don't use a box call a whole lot. So I'm more of a mouth call and slate call. So I'll put a bottle of water in that, but, and it's plenty, that's for sure. Did you get a chance to use the Equinox guard clothing?
Oh, absolutely, dude.
Is that amazing or what?
Yeah, I had Chris Derrick on the podcast. What an amazing guy. We sent a couple of pot calls to him and his son killed it. He sent us turkey, killed a nice turkey like the following week with the pot call there. It was just so nice. Cool. He sent us a picture and a write-up, but he went through and explained, on the vest, but he went through that whole thing and the years of the testing of that clothing and living. And I'm sure you probably have it, but here in Southern Iowa, where we live back and off the grid and in the sticks, last year, the ticks were so bad. And like I said, I've had Lyme's disease in the past, so I'm constantly aware of it, but we had tons of those little tiny ticks.
Seed ticks. Yeah.
Oh gosh. And I mean, and then our poor dog, you try to search him. The next thing you know, you get something like a blueberry laying in the floor and it's a friggin' ticket fell off.
Oh, yeah.
So bad. And that was the biggest thing that when I got, to me that led that was that clothing and because I always, Promethean would take my clothes and just spray them the heck out of them with Promethean, my hat, everything.
Yep. And I'd do like 5 pairs of underwears, all my socks, do anything that I was going to wear. And now with this stuff, it's been a game changer. I've hunted next to a lot of people that weren't wearing it, guiding people turkey hunting, and they come in and they're covered with ticks. And even though they spray, they still get ticks on them. With this, the way the gator goes into your boots, the way that the top fits, and I haven't had a tick in 3 years, and that's saying something. I know Clay Hudnall, his wife, got one of the meat diseases from ticks, and she's been wearing it and hasn't had any, and Clay's been wearing it. I mean, it's the real deal. A lot of people look at the price of the pants and they're expensive, but so what's the cost of Lyme's disease, or what's the cost of one of those, other diseases you can get from these nasty little critters? So I
have a thing on the cost there. I had a few years back when I was working in a Sitka booth at the Iowa Deer Classic. And that time, and this was years ago, they had a bottle of beer. It was $12 for a bottle of Budweiser beer. And these young guys came up and they were looking at the clothing. So I'm going through the clothing, telling them what I like and what I like about it, and all pumped up. And, and at that time, and this was the cycle when, and at that time, Sitka was new. And so the comment back, wow, it's great stuff, but wow, it's so expensive. And I looked at these these two young guys, and they had two Budweisers in each hand and had a big dip, of Copenhagen. And I told them, I said, you know what? I said, let's talk about pricing. You just paid $12 a beer for the same beer that's been out for 20 some years or longer, and you got $24 in two hands that some other places, that's over a case for a case of beer that you bought for two. You just paid for two of them. And then you got it at Copenhagen, it's going for $6 and $7 a 10,
Yeah.
and we're paying for gasoline almost $4 a gallon. And all that stuff is the same stuff that we've been using for 20, 30 years.
Right.
This stuff here, dude, is the state of the art technology, state of the art research by some of the smartest dudes in the industry. You understand? And they looked at it and they stopped and said, well, they looked at it that way. So I get what you're saying. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I understand myself when we design and you put the, your goose call, your duck call, you have something, wow, they're expensive, but they don't understand the technology, whatever you did and design it. And when people would come into our shop and they'd see all the work from the start to the finish that you put into a call, and they're going, wow, I never realized there's so much work. And I said, yeah. And all that just to get to the most important, the tuning part.
Correct.
And all it takes experience, and it takes technology, and it takes wisdom, and that's what Sitka is. What I'm trying to tell them. Don't look at the price of things. And like you said, if you have Lyme's disease, well, tell me what's out there that's out there that you're going to use is better and cheaper. Tell me, because go buy it. I agree with you. Go buy it. There isn't. No one's.
I don't want to spray that stuff all over all my stuff, and the way that it's been treated, it's already soaked in. It's not going to be residual onto you. There's so many different things. But yeah, like you said, years ago, everybody would walk into the store, they grab the price tag and they go, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. Now they're coming in, hey, what size do you have? Do you have this in my size? And people have finally realized the purpose for the quality. But but we've got other brands out there that sell great products for people who need to have those products. When we're working these shows, I always tell all the people that are working my booths and working around me, hey, somebody comes in and asks me for brand A, this jacket, you walk them over and you sell them a brand A jacket. There's, we're all in this together. Everybody has a piece of the pie. We just need to make sure that we're not showing animosity for each guys and each brand. Everybody helps everybody, and that will continue to grow the hunting sport. We start acting like little babies and sissies and crying and whining back and forth, we're going to deter some people, and we don't want to do that. We want to make sure we bring all the young kids up into an environment that's very welcoming.
That's spoken by a true gentleman. You're spoken from an older generation. That is 100%. And working shows that, like you said, someone comes up and I have brand A, but if they want brand B, that's what you go over to them. And if they ask you questions and they're not sure what they want and they want to know about another brand, then we'll mention brand A. Maybe
exactly.
They in this stuff like that. And you're absolutely right. There's too much animosity of out there, especially in the culling industry, because now there's so many people that's gotten into it and stuff like that, and we forget about the brotherhood and being respectful, I guess, having morals. And
again, that hits it right on the head, is respectful. We still have it. There's some things that are entering in that haven't been as respectful, and we have to deal with that. But as long as the core people that have been in this forever can stay together and stay focused and work together, I think we'll all be good in the long run.
Absolutely. Well spoken, Steve.
I'd like to take a brief pause to give a shout out to our sponsors: Apex Ammo, Domain Outdoor, G5 Broadheads, KILLIN STIX, LACROSSE Footwear, Prime Archery, RETAY, Sitka Gear, Stan Releases, YETI, Brent Nadu, who wrote the music for our podcast.
Let me get to this. We got, teal season and a lot of places September 1st, but a lot of guys are going to be having early goose season. So for the guys that are hunting, and it's probably the northern season and even the south of the teal, let's talk about clothing of the Sitka. What if I'm a Sitka, looking to get in some Sitka clothing for the early season? What would you recommend for guys with the early goose and early teal? The weather and all that we're going to experience. So what would be your advice for that type of clothing for that type of hunting?
I'd still be wearing Equinox Guard hoodies because the mosquitoes can't bite through it. Definitely wear that. Get a lightweight, like a Delta wading jacket in case it's raining. Personally, when it's 75, 80 degrees, the beauty of wearing our waders is I wear a pair of shorts underneath them, and I don't get that clammy feeling against my legs that I used to wearing neoprenes or other breathable waders because of the breathability of Gore-Tex. It makes them comfortable to still be able to wear a pair of shorts. If it's a little chilly, we've got the Traverse pants. Just any of our light stuff for sure. But I on my top, if I'm in waders, I'm going to be wearing an Equinox Guard because I don't want the mosquito, because the mosquitoes aren't the way the fabric's woven, as I'm sure Chris told you, is the mosquitoes cannot bite through that fabric. And that's a game changer too. I mean, you still got to spray a little off on you to keep them away from you, but not like you would before. And shoot, sometimes if you're laying in a fence row or doing something like that for early goose, I'd be wearing full Equinox Guard in my layout blind or something because there's still ticks and they're bad in the fall too.
As you know what, I didn't even think about the Equinox, but you're right. In the early goose, we used to do a lot of guiding, hunting cut wheat. You only had so many of the agriculture is harvested, and
that
so
or silage is the only thing you can get. Yeah,
that and silage. So even if we had cornfields that would butt up and to a cut wheat field, or if you're in a silage field that's half cut and you're standing, a lot of times you're going to hunt in that standing corn. Dude, there's nothing worse in that standing corn than the freaking mosquitoes breed.
Oh, they're horrible. They're horrible.
There.
And believe it or not, I mean, you're going to have ticks in there because the deer go through that corn, and wherever you have deer, you're going to have ticks. And that's what I would always recommend. And even in the subalpine pattern, it's green up against that green corn, all that's, I mean, you're not going to lose anything. And if you're in a layout blind, who cares if you're wearing the green subalpine? So, in the wheat part. So that would be we make so many cool lightweight products, core lightweight hoodies, Traverse pants. We make so much lightweight stuff. But again, my big sell is Equinox Guard just because of the peace of mind knowing that I'm not going to get those ticks or have the mosquitoes on me.
I think guys listening, that is probably one of the best advice of wearing and gear. Again, that's what Sitka is. The gear is their early season, man, wearing the Equinox. And even the guys teal hunting, if you're sitting in whatever, you have a box blind in the weeds and off these ponds and stuff like he said, there's still deer that it's running and living in through these things and between that and the mosquitoes. But it's one of the things that I know, I would preach to guys because I've known guys actually quit turkey hunting because of it.
My dad was one of them until I got him Equinox Guard.
And one of the things every year I'm saying, I've had Lyme's disease. Let me tell you what, when it comes turkey season, preparation against it is more important to me than, what decoys and stuff I'm using on turkeys, because we'll kill a turkey, but I'm telling you, the defense against tick is something that you don't see that attacks you and gets on you, and then you got it, and then you climbed it. Dude, I've woke up. I've had them in my belly button.
Everywhere. And then you wake up, even if you don't have them, then you start feeling like your skin's crawling and all that. I haven't even had that feeling for the last 3 years because I know that what I'm wearing prevents it.
That.
I got ticks earlier this year because I was out in the woods mushroom hunting and I didn't put it on. I'm like, I'm an idiot. I should have wore it mushroom hunting. I've got solid, and you get in a hurry. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go check that patch, and shit, I got a tick. Oh crap, But it's something that's why we brought it out in solids too for guys that aren't hunting, and you can use it in shed hunting. You can use it, early food plots. You can do all kinds of stuff with that. The Equinox Guard, in my mind, is probably one of the coolest things that we've come out with other than waders in the last 10 years.
Yeah, early summer or late spring, there's some places that I'll go, and especially the deer hunters out there, I'll do some cutting and new spots for tree stand setups, and I'll go out and do my cutting and set stands then, so it's not during the season of my scent. And definitely I don't go unless I have the Equinox is on that, and we got mushroom patches here, like you said, it's just in the woods, and I won't even walk in unless I'll go back in, put my stuff on and go back
Yep.
and look. It's just
Yep.
makes that difference.
I made the mistake a couple times this year. That's the first time that I've had a tick. I'm outside of the hunting realm. I got some when I was mushroom hunting. So
Well, that was a great tip. I'm telling you what, guys, that right there for the early season coming up here. You heard, some what do we wear but I think the most important tip you had right there is talking about the Equinox and like you said, you're laying in a layout blind. I mean, I could wear blue jeans, I could wear shorts. It doesn't really matter, but Equinox, it definitely makes a difference for the early season. Late season, say, I'm a guy heading down to Arkansas. I want to duck hunt. And, I want to and I'm heading down late December. What would you look at for that? Your advice to that guy? He's coming down here and he said, "Hey man, I need to stop at Max and pick up some clothing before."
I mean, there's a few contributing factors. Are you coming down there to spec hunt, laying out in the fields? Or are you coming down there to stand next to a tree in the woods? You're going to go hunt a pit out in the rice fields. If I'm standing next to a tree, of course, I'm wearing my waders. Late December, you're probably wearing a pair of gradient pants or a pair of gradient cold weather bibs. Then on top, I wear core lightweight against my skin. Then I wear a core heavyweight or a grinder against the top of that, the core lightweight for moisture wicking. Then my go-to jacket the last few years has been the Kelvin Aerolite jacket because it's so flexible, so movable, so warm, very lightweight. That's been my favorite piece until we've got the new duck oven that is made with the Primaloft Gold Cross Core, which is the same insulation that's in the Kelvin Aerolite jacket. It is way more comfortable. A lot of guys rave about it and loved it. It just was too much for me. I do too much moving, guiding people, doing things. If I was probably just coming out, sitting in the pit, waiting to shoot, yeah, for sure. Duck oven would have been my go-to, but not doing all the stuff that I do. I chose the Kelvin Aerolite jacket or even the ambient too, just for being able to put decoys out, being able to move decoys, being able to work the dog, do all the stuff that I do. But the new duck oven is money now with the new insulation. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I got
That's what I'd wear. That's what I mean. If I was laying in the field, wear a pair of Hudson bibs with some gradient pants underneath it, depending on how warm or cold it is. If I'm in a pit, wear my waders. I don't wear gradient pants a whole lot because I run hot. But what I do wear is a pair of core lightweight or core merino bottoms with a pair of grinder pants over the top or a pair of back 40s or just one of our everyday pants. I don't wear a whole lot because I do run hot under these waders. If it gets really, 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 really cold, like it did right around Christmas last year, I'll put on the gradient pants or the gradient cold weather bibs, but it has to get really cold for me to wear them. But for everyday guys that, maybe run a little bit colder or not out and exposed to the elements as much as we are, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, do you run hot or cold?" Being hot or cold is relevant to the amount of time you spend in the cold. Guys that work Monday through Friday and only get to duck hunt on the weekends and they get a cold front and it's colder than heck. Guy like me, I'm like, "What do you mean it's cold? It's not cold." But to them it is. They haven't been exposed to it all week. It's a different animal for them than it is for me or you or somebody who spends a lot more time who is blessed enough to be able to spend more time out in the woods and out in the field. But we've got such an array of assortment for people to choose that, hey, I run kind of hot, but not kind of hot. I mean, you can choose midweight insulation, lightweight insulation, heavyweight insulation. We sell that Boreal jacket. That's the warmest coat. It's kind of like the Incinerator on the whitetail side or Fanatic on the whitetail side. The warmest thing you can ever do, but you could never put that on and go out and put out decoys. You'd sweat to death. But
yeah.
We give them all options. That's for sure.
What was is it Fanatic? The whitetail version with the jacket with the goose down.
That's the Incinerator.
I remember hunting muzzleloading in Michigan, late muzzleloading, and dude, it was minus out.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I went out with that to sit in the blind with nothing but a t-shirt underneath it and sat there all warm and ended up shooting a nice buck. But yeah, the Incinerator was crazy. You mentioned another company that you represent, and it's a company that I've had very good friends with, but respected. The product they make was Rig 'em Right.
Oh yeah,
they've
Matthew's good people.
Oh, he's a great person. I remember meeting him And this little girl, I'm pretty sure it was this little girl years ago when I was doing the Cabela's Kansas show.
Oh, yeah.
He sat across from me at this little table. I think they were just getting their start, but he would come up and introduced himself, you know, and man, what a great, been that way through the years. But I'll tell you what, he's one of the companies that you look at, the quality in their product is a step above. And I'm not
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to cut anybody else out there. It's just that there's no doubt that, you know, when you grab one of their blind bags or gear bags, gun, whatever, you can tell, I can tell rig 'em right just from someone's hand carrying it, you know?
Oh, for sure. You know, and that's one thing that Matthew, he always prides himself on making something to just the next level, making sure that there's 30 extra stitches, there's this, there's that, you know, just something to make it better, so that we all know how much waterfowl products can be abused with the elements and everything that we put them through. And it's probably one of the toughest sports on equipment that there is. And just to make that next level keeps you from having to worry about it.
I'm gonna get off the grid a little bit now here, because it's something that I think is so unique about you. I mean, I know a lot of people in the hunting industry, but no one has a green thumb in Kansas. See, my mother's from the hills of Tennessee. In fact, I got a picture that my cousins finally sent. I've been looking for it, and because my mother was my hero. I mean, growing up, and every time I killed her, she'd go out and help me gut it, and we'd always have to have the heart and liver, and every time we'd come home, pheasant hunting was what I grew up on, the upland hunting in Michigan. And we come home and we put our game jackets down in the garage, and I'd go put the dog up and feed and water, take care. My mom would come out and she'd go through our jackets, get the birds out, and first thing she'd do is she'd be outside and she'd do all the cleaning. She'd clean all the birds, you know, and so that's how I grew up. But because I worked in a garden growing up, and I don't know how many beans that I picked and strung. You know, I hated that, but you know, helping my mother can, and she would, the cabbage, we grew cabbage, and I would help her, you know, shred all the cabbage, and we'd have these big crocks, and then she'd put salt. And I remember as a kid with cheesecloth, and I'd sneak up in the middle of the night and I'd go in there and I'd eat that cabbage, that salty taste. But had, I mean, our tables and the whole kitchen is just covered with mason jars, and all night long you hear cans popping. But we lived all winter on the vegetable soup that she made. And salsa and green beans and canned corn, and you know, even canned our venison. She canned, my dad, we were big fishermen in Lake Michigan and Erie, you know, catching salmon, and she would can the salmon. It's just, we didn't eat out, you know, it's different. And so that's
if you did, it was a treat.
It was a treat, absolutely.
Yeah.
And or there's a special occasion for it, you know.
Sure.
And but you know, so you don't see too much. There's people here that are friends of our farmers that we go over, and my way we're trying to learn the cannon, because it's so much done here in Iowa the same way. People grow all their own vegetables, but dude, you grow some amazing vegetables, and then you do the canning and the food that how'd you get started in that?
My grandfather, same thing. My grandfather lived in town in Kansas City. His whole backyard was a garden. He sold tomatoes off his front porch. He sold tomatoes to the local grocery stores. He grew mainly tomatoes and raspberries, blue and blackberries. I grow mainly tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers. Only because cucumbers for my pickles, tomatoes and green peppers, and that for making salsa, making spaghetti sauce, that kind of stuff. But I just started really canning in the last 2 years with pickles. I was making a lot of refrigerator pickles until I would run out of space in my fridge. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all this stuff? But you know, you wanted to have nice fresh pickles. But so I started learning the canning method, water bath canning. I haven't moved to the pressure canning, probably like your mom did with the meat. With the meat, you got to have a pressure canner, but with the tomato, with salsa and that kind of things, and pickles, you can do it in a water bath canner. I actually put back, I think, 24 jars of salsa yesterday, and like 12 jars of pasta sauce the day before. My cucumbers have fizzled out, so I'm not making any pickles right now. I've got a second planting of cucumbers that are coming on. I'll probably be able to do some more here. Yeah, probably in the 1st of September. If we don't get an early frost or something, I'll be able to do some more in September. But I started doing pickles. Instead of handing the employees at the stores a hat and a t-shirt, I started just making pickles and handed it to the employees of the stores because it was just something different.
Right. It's awesome.
Yeah, now they look forward to pickles. So
I got a sister-in-law that lived in North Carolina, but she was had a company called Appalachian Harvest.
I'm listening.
At a company called Appalachian Harvest. She's actually was on the Paula Dean show, but they made everything. She had her stores. There you go, brother. I'll give you my address here in a little bit.
Yeah, I'll bring some up. I'll bring some to Presley's.
Awesome. But you know what they made that they were real famous? They made all the jalapeno jelly that was really good. And then, but she made pickled tomatoes.
Oh yeah.
But they were pickled tomatoes that you could put on a hamburger.
Oh yeah.
Those were delicious.
I was looking at those kind of recipes. I'm trying to make sure that I have enough salsa and pasta sauce, and then I'm going to start looking at other things. My tomatoes have just gone crazy in the last 3 weeks. And of course, me being on the road, I come home after being on the road for 4 days at working these shows. And I'm like, oh gosh, what am I going to do with 25, 30 pounds of tomatoes? So
yeah,
I think somebody needs to go outside.
Okay. You want to take him out?
No, I'm good. Oh my God.
Well, Steve,
That's what she has to do. When she comes over like that,
she's telling you, I got to go outside.
She says, I got to go outside. Yeah.
So that's our cue, folks. So Steve, I appreciate again taking your time, your busy schedule, and I look forward to seeing you at Presley's this weekend and always in our conversations, and look forward to some of your pickles. And folks, I hope you subscribe to this, listen to this. If you like it, go to Legendary Gear USA, George Lynch podcast, hunting show podcast. You can pick it up there, or you can go to the Outdoor Call Radio, Dan Young on Wednesdays, waterfowl and whitetail. I do both, and you'll catch it there. I appreciate it, buddy. And folks, always remember, hunt safe, hunt smart. May the good Lord be your guide.
Take a kid with you.
Take a kid hunting. Absolutely,
Yes,
bro.
sir.
Well, I'll be out there, rain is shining, all a part of the great design. Bring it on, I can never get enough, because that's what legends are made of.